Top 10 Best Marvel Series finally revealed. In 2021, with the release of WandaVision on Disney+, a new era began for Marvel-branded television series, in which Marvel Studios took a more active role in overseeing and incorporating the episodes into the larger narrative of the films. This also marked the beginning of an era in which Marvel TV shows mimicked the tone and style of their cinematic counterparts, including the same blend of comedy, drama, and action. So here are the top 10 Marvel series. 10. Jessica Jones. While the first season of Jessica Jones was excellent, the presence of Kilgrave, former Doctor Who actor David Tennant, whose voice is inescapably mesmerizing to the point where people kill one another or themselves at his casual verbal command, was a mixed blessing. Kristen Ritter provides an impressively nuanced portrayal as the titular character, a detective grappling with the return of the villainous Kilgrave while trying to forget the deep traumas he inflicted on her in the past. It would have been at the top of the list if the next two seasons had maintained the same level of focus and intensity as the first. Instead, Jessica Jones's second and third seasons suffer from a lack of intensity and personal stakes. A street-level superhero tale, a crime procedural, and a personal story about abuse and recovery, the first season is still worth your time. 9. Moon Knight. Canonically, does the MCU include Moon Knight? Grant Curtis, the film's executive producer, claims that it is, although the connections between the films are few, fragile, and easily explained away thanks to Marvel Studios' current emphasis on multiverses. But the show is still included on Disney Plus's MCU and timeline-ordered list, following Hawkeye. However, because of its lack of overt MCU connections, Moon Knight is relieved of the normal pressures of advancing the narrative agenda of a massive franchise. That leaves plenty of room for creator Jeremy Slater and his team to tell their own thrilling weird adventure story, centered on the mystery of what is going on with Stephen Grant, Oscar Isaac, whose visions of a supernatural world coincide with blackouts that leave him with blood on his hands and a disdainful voice in his ears. While the ending is rushed, as is typical for an MCU show, the journey there is interesting, entertaining, and unusually bold. Isaac's obvious delight in his wacky dual character, a steady stream of twists and turns, and action on a global and very personal scale all contribute to the film's success. It's one of the better MCU shows, but it has a bad habit of rushing through dramatic moments without giving them time to develop and focusing too heavily on unimportant side plots. 8. SheHulk. Season 1 of Jessica Gau's She-Hulk has a lot going on, perhaps too much to properly cohere by the conclusion, but it's still a lot of fun to watch as it tries to strike a balance between a legal drama, a fourth wall-breaking comedy, and a wry-running commentary on societal misogyny. Tatiana Maslany has a lot riding on her performance as Jen Walters/She-Hulk, the protagonist of the show. Whether she's addressing the camera to poke fun at the program's structure or the latest plot development, Maslany has to maintain Jen's emotions believably and approachable. Light, airy, and frequently sharp as hell in its insights on the daily flack professional women have to traverse over their gender, the first season fizzles off a bit by the end, leaving Jen in a peculiar state of is anything here real, and does any of it matter? 7. Loki. It's possible that if the series gets closer to an actual end, Loki will rise in the ratings. Given the cliffhanger finale, which serves more to set up the next wave of Marvel movies than to truly honor the characters or concepts on deck throughout the program, rating it after the close of Season 1 feels like grading it in the middle of its plot. The first season is a dizzying whirlwind through a series of revelations that will impact the MCU forever, and Loki, in particular, has undergone countless transformations over the past decade thanks to the movies, and those transformations have often been undone. Tom Hiddleston is still one of the best things about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. His expressive, energetic presence alone would make this show memorable. When compared to the other series on our list, Loki lacks the time for meaningful character development or emotional exploration, despite being inventive, colorful, and often a lot of fun. It's the most entertaining Marvel Cinematic Universe show Disney Plus has produced so far, but there's a lot of the tale left to be told. 6. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is a hurried and ultimately clumsy account of how former Winter Soldier Bucky Barnes copes with his various Marvel Cinematic Universe traumas and how Sam Wilson decides to take up the Captain America mantle. It's an earnest tale about a group of covert super soldiers who, depending on your point of view, may be considered terrorists or freedom fighters. As a story about two guys dealing with the loss of their mentor and inspiration in their own ways, one resenting the other for doing it wrong and the other by bonding over what they learned from him, the film is emotional and insightful in a way that most MCU films aren't. The two major protagonists, played by Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan, are occasionally sketchily written, but they are made vulnerable, human, and fascinating by the actor's ability to convey both warmth and prickliness. It's actually aggravating when this action buddy movie wastes some of its narrative potentials by glossing over crucial plot points with a hand wave or a stuffy speech because it's so excellent when it's on. 5. WandaVision. WandaVision is another post-Avengers, endgame narrative about dealing with loss, and it takes a while for that to become clear. Wanda Maximoff, the protagonist, begins the story in a state of utter denial, having resurrected her dead lover, Vision, in her own happy sitcom world. The showrunners have more fun with design, direction, and overall style than any other MCU show so far, and they like playing with that other reality. One of the two main things that set WandaVision apart is the flexibility she has to freely explore her persona while being utterly bizarre. The other is the breadth of human experience depicted in the series, as Wanda struggles with her own feelings of resentment, guilt, and egotism. The series never quite feels complete because of its messy ending, which leaves many questions unanswered in order to set up additional films, but it is an exciting trip all the same. 4. What If? The What If series, which is still a sure bet for most underrated MCU show, may have suffered from MCU fatigue, animosity toward animation, or the belief held by some fans that a series of hypothetical multiverse tales have little bearing on the larger MCU canon. In general, it seems like franchise followers didn't care as much about this show as they did about others on this list. They are missing out. The first 9 episodes of the first season are rather uncomplicated, taking place in a universe where Peggy Carter, rather than Steve Rogers, was transformed into a super soldier. While the first few episodes serve as a sort of training wheels for viewers unfamiliar with the AU, subsequent episodes gradually increase the stakes and the distance from familiar canon, either going darker and more brutal directions than the mainstream movies could ever do, or having much more fun with the characters, such as when Black Panther's T'Challa goes to space and proves the universe is better off without Peter Quill, or when Thor throws a worldwide party. 3. Ms. Marvel. Ms. Marvel is one of the few superhero origin stories that stand out in a genre flooded with them. The 19 on our list are simply a drop in the bucket of the bigger slate. The show's success can be attributed to a number of design decisions, such as its colorful visual identity, reminiscent of Into the Spider-Verse, or the way it gives Kamala Khan, the show's protagonist, a real existence outside of superheroism. But some praise must be saved for Iman Vellani, the show's undeniable MVP. Whether Kamala is facing a formidable foe or a formidable crush, she makes both situations feel exciting. Although the MCU has yet to figure out how to handle Ms. Marvel's adversaries or cultural identity, in her hands, Ms. Marvel is the rare MCU property that feels like it has the engine to run for a while. Its 6 episodes are its worst flaw, hopefully, because they are just the beginning. 2. Agent Carter. Agent Carter tackles the same sadness as WandaVision, but in helplessness. After Captain America, the first Avenger, Captain America's best gal Peggy Carter is mourning his apparent death and striving to be a hero in an increasingly anti-female world. Agent Carter thoroughly examines Peggy's, Haley Atwell, misogyny and condescension at the FBI-like Strategic Scientific Reserve, mimicking the real-life shift that put women in men's jobs during World War II and then shelved them after the soldiers returned. She and Howard Stark's butler Jarvis, James Darcy, must hunt out America's adversaries in secret as her sexist co-workers treat her like a sidekick Captain America stupidly permitted equality. The series is crisp, with genuine conflict, a satisfying Marvel movie over plot, and a noir-style gender battles and private investigator theme. Atwell and Darcy work well. The Technicolor show is stunning. It's MCU modern, but it borrows the best costuming, cinematography, humor, and storytelling from the period it's recalling. 1. Daredevil. Daredevil, the first Netflix MCU show, set the edgier, street-level tone while still seeming like a superhero story with costumes, secret identities, and amazing fights. The fight between Daredevil, Charlie Cox, and Bullseye, Wilson Bethel, which weaponizes every newsroom object, is a peculiar blend of high stakes and whimsy. The one-shot corridor combat scene proved Marvel didn't need a movie budget to create massive set pieces. Performances are more impressive than combats. Cox is convincing as a lawyer, and Vigilante is driven by wrath and Catholic guilt to improve the world. Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin is a masterclass in villainy. Frank Castle, who inspired The Punisher, serves as a warning to Matt Murdock if his friends don't control him. Daredevil's flaws: the authors needed to figure out what to do with parts of the supporting actors as the second season descended into a continuous ninja attack to set up the Defenders. The program was always imaginative and ambitious, and its ending was a gratifying and hopeful end to a big superhero television chapter. That's it. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. Thanks for watching.